But moving on over to articulation for MechaGodzilla, we have a head rotation, which can go all the way around, so pretty smooth right there. We have arm swivels right at the, ironically enough, the segment where it actually starts, so it's actually pretty good movement. Nice solid 360 on both sides. This one's a little bit more stiff, just by a hair. This one, we can move pretty much side to side like this at the waist, so just like the movie. So if you really want to, you could recreate some of your famous battle scenes with this guy. Maybe have him like this, and then this guy opens up and then obviously you can't really open it. And we do have some swivels here at the legs. So it's not like a highly posable MechaGodzilla. I mean, of course it's not, it's a Bandai vinyl. But this is actually the most appropriate as far as like sheer movement is concerned, because MechaGodzilla does have a lot of swivels to him. Next up, we have King Caesar, which oddly enough, among all of the figures we have here, this one's actually my favorite as far as like sculpt and paint is considered. Why? Well, let's take a look. This is actually the last of the show era reps we're going to be taking a look at today, because again, I don't have 68 Goji. For the face, you can just see the amount of sculpt and detail that went into this dude. He has nice red eyes with some nice like black highlights, darker brown highlights around the entire skin, and all the like little bumps and crevices like in the nostril, and the teeth actually look pretty well too. There's not really any defects as far as that goes. And even like the crown is just really well done. We have like the nice little jewel, of course, and then we have like the ears that kind of flop around in the film. A little tiny, is that a nick? I think that's an orange nick right there, but we still have a nice amount of dry brushing that kind of goes across the entire thing. Nice little crown up there. And then we have like the fur, and then this is just when the paint really goes in overdrive, because you just get all that nice dark brown wash, and it just looks so awesome. And even like the little swirls, it almost looks like fire, especially the tail. We'll talk about that in a sec. We have like the arms and then the elbows, elbow patches of fur. They look really nice as well with the kind of brown dry brushing, and especially like the black on the nails. Like it looks a little heavy-handed, but no pun intended, heavy-handed. But it still looks great with the three nails we've got, a little in the crevices. We've got as well a little segmenting as far as the scales are concerned, and then we're back to the scales. Of course, by the way, it's worth mentioning too. It's the same thing on this side. It just goes to town with all the in segmenting, and it just looks so great. And especially like down here, I will say there's a mild imbalance between it, because like you see a lot more paint on this side than there's this side, but you still get like a ton of that same segmenting detail. Like especially because like the fur down here and here, it just looks so great, and especially at the ankle down here, like that just looks awesome. And again, going back to the scaling, little bit mismatched as far as like the color variety is concerned. Almost looks like he's wearing half pants, half not. But we do have some more dry brushing, a bit on the toes. Again, little heavy-handed, but I do like the intention to detail here. And speaking of detail to tail, here we have the tail itself, which a little bit of a color mismatch. This kind of looks like the texture of a potato, honestly. But it has a little lines, little flame-like thing. I'm pretty sure if you would paint this like red, not that I would, it would definitely look like a flame. But we do have some more on the fur, on the butt. I kind of wonder if this is his butt hair. Yeah, I probably didn't make you see that. Anyway, we have some more like the detail here, and again, it just looks really great, more like the dark brown. And overall, King Caesar is just an absolute win in my book as far as like sheer sculpt and paint is concerned. And speaking of which, let's move on to articulation. He has nothing at the head itself, but the ears. I don't know if this was ever intentional or not, but the ears can move. They're very, very stiff, and I would not recommend them unless you actually like wanna do that. But like, look, you can actually fold up the ears a little bit. Look at that. It's accurate to the film. You can do it. It's there. Again, I don't know if it's intended to do that, but it's there. We have some bicep swivels. So this one can go backwards about that far, forwards about that far. This one can go stock Forwards about that far. Backwards about that far. And the waist, much like MechaGodzilla, can actually... sounds like it almost broke a neck. Well, I guess broke a back, broke a waist. And go kind of swivel all the way around like that. And yeah, you can just kind of go like that. And you can rotate pretty well at the hips. Like, this is actually a clean cut. So you can go forward, back. Don't know about 360. Won't try it on this one. But you do get a nice 360 here at the tail, which is pretty well posable, I'll say. Like, nice, fresh 360 cut. So overall, King Caesar, not a bad part of it. Except he has a hard time standing if you don't have the legs posed properly. But once you get that right position, it's mint. Jumping ahead to the next Millennium, we have Godzilla 2000 Millennium, which is honestly, I'm just going to come out and say it, very killer of a figure. But let's talk about it. For the overall sculpt and paint, it's definitely not like the best as far as like the paint itself goes, but we do have quite a fair amount. For the eyes, we have a little bit of a beady pupil that's also painted a different shade of white with the black kind of iris around it, and then we have like the remainder of it, which is like a bit of a more eggshell white, if that makes any sense. Then we have some of like the bone white teeth that are individually painted, not so much sculpted, but we do have a nice pink reddish tongue in there. That looks great, and then we have some details at the top mouth, not painted though. We do have some more like sculpted paint apps kind of going down, well, sculpted details kind of going down to the neck here. We have all like the different individual scaling, and then we have some more like the scale details going down to the shoulder, little ridges here on the neck, especially down to the chest where we get some more like the fold and such. The claws are painted a kind of like bone white, bone yellow type color with no real shading to it, but we do have some mild detail. It's very mild. You have to actually like really go in to see it. But we do have some more, again, like the same detailing on scales going down the body to the kneecaps, and then eventually to the pre-post feet, which we have like one leg kind of like tiptoeing and then the other one kind of neutral. So definitely going for like that walking through the city type things. But it's definitely looking great. We have some more like the claws here that are painted pretty well. Not so much shading, but it does have some nice applications to it. It definitely looks really solid. I'm surprised that I haven't had too much paint nicks. Like, the only ones I really have are like these two, and this figure is like how old now in my collection. And we do have some more like nice kind of sculpted work, and goes all the way down to the tip of the tail, and we have some more like the softer underbelly of the tail. Definitely has a lot more of like the detail that you see on this one compared to the older releases. But what really seals the show are the dorsal plates, and oh boy, the purple they chose. I think that's a bad thing, but this is beautiful. Like, when I picture Godzilla 2000, I mean purple dorsal plates, and this just looks so beautiful. You know what it kind of looks like? A coral reef. Now that I look at it, not so much, but you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. I will say mine has a minor defect with like the mold being like smoothened out here. And as we'll see in a minute with the Fusion series, it's not like particularly pristine like that. It's definitely a bit more bladed, but it's just a minor misprint on mine. But we do have like the purple paint going down to the tip of the tail, thankfully, because we do have a bit of like the purple spray and then kind of goes down and kind of curls in. I will say the curl looks definitely a bit less um, organic and more awkward on this one. I almost would have preferred if they swooped the tail upward, but instead of like caning the tail in like this, it almost looks like Godzilla's trying to get Kong off the set, like, hey buddy, we need to film our new Legendary film, woo! But aside from that, it still looks great with all like the intricate little details of like the purple, and it again just looks so beautiful. Really looks like a crystal. And again, leaves you wondering like what happens to really the other Godzilla 2000 figures when they kind of drop the ball, but whatever. For articulation, we don't have anything at the head or jaw, but we do have bicep swivels. This arm can go backwards about that far and forwards about that far. This arm can go forwards about that far and backwards about that far. The legs can go pretty much at a V cut at the crotch, so we can go pretty much all the way around with them. And that is it. There's no tail articulation. Actually, I think there could be. I don't know. I might have to break that glue seal, but I'm definitely not going to because I don't want to risk harming this handsome young lad. But that's the Godzilla 2000.